Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the HuskerOnline Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett, back from California, ready for Nebraska, Wisconsin this week. And before we get into our full show, HuskerOnline Show brought to you by StayHome.Care. They are there for you to help with all of the personal things you might need for a loved one in your life, whether it's daily tasks like cleaning, laundry, meal preparation, providing companionship, offering medication, reminders on medication, giving rides to doctor's appointments. They do all of that, and they make your life easier. It's never too early to call them either to find out about their services. You might have someone in your life that might need assistance down the road. Give them a call at 402-205-2233 and go to the website at StayHome.Care. That's not .com, it's .care. Again, 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart into everything we do. Your home, our care, StayHome.Care. All right, let's get into it, guys, because we heard from Dana Holgorsen for the first time at Nebraska, and immediately we all commented about his candidness, his confidence, the way he carried himself, and he was not afraid to share his opinion on personnel and things they're doing, which has not necessarily been the norm with Matt Rule coordinators and assistants that we've seen in the past.
That's true. Yeah, and this is a two-time head coach. I mean, he's been a head coach at West Virginia and Houston. He's been an offensive coordinator who's consistently had top 10 offenses. So, yeah, it's a lot different feel and look at that podium. It's like a head coach because he's been a head coach. So the bullet points, I mean, one bullet point is he didn't come here. He said this. He didn't come here expecting to be named offensive coordinator and play caller. He made it sound like it evolved into that, and it evolved quickly. Another bullet point is he made it very clear he's still getting a handle on the personnel. He also dropped in a pretty interesting vignette that he's discovered a young player today. Didn't want to say who it was because he wants to talk to the staff about it first, but he said, keep your eyes open for that. Bullet point. The receivers talk was fascinating. He went to the receivers and said, you guys are pretty big. Why are you blocking like crap? That's his words. Why are you blocking like crap? It's embarrassing. And then lo and behold, they had their best, the receivers had their best blocking game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Those are some bullet points.
The running back comment too, Robin.
Yeah, about guys not hitting the holes. He said, well, if I got a hole that I can stretch out my entire arms and you're not getting through it, what's going on? He said he talked to EJ Barthel during the game
at halftime
and said, why aren't your guys getting the holes? Why aren't they getting more yards? So a higher standard, or at least a high standard, has been set upon Dana Holgorsen's arrival, to where the things that have been plaguing Nebraska all year long, I think that they're going to be willing to do some dramatic things like play new young guys with 2 games remaining in the season, just to find someone that's willing to do the things necessary to fix those issues.
In this week, they're going to see a very good defense in Wisconsin, one that held Oregon to 16 points and probably should have won the football game. And then they'll see another pretty good defense in Iowa the following week. So this is no picnic for Dana Holgorsen to walk into, knowing you're going to play a lot of games where scoring 24 points is going to be hard to do.
Yeah, the whole thing is really,
20 points would be hard to do.
Yeah, the whole picture is he didn't pull any punches. That this is a big challenge. The nature of the challenge is significant. And he was really good about explaining that how it all went down is Rule just said, I need your help. I look, come in, get in here. I need your help. He liked that. He liked to hear that. He was at TCU. Holgorsen was at TCU and was in a consultant role, but the way he presented it to us is he wasn't doing that much. He said he was doing game prep during the week and then not even staying for the games because he didn't like being at the games because he had no control. So I got the impression he really was happy to hear from Rule, to be wanted, right? Everybody wants to be wanted.
Well, I think he would have been a hot commodity if he stayed in the free agent portal
As an OC?
As an OC.
Yeah. Oh, God, yes.
Oklahoma, Wisconsin. I mean, you go down a list of teams that have opened up their coordinator jobs. Florida State.
Now, you guys listen to him, too. I wrote about it, so it's been kind of a whirlwind for me. He didn't address it all and wasn't really asked about the future at Nebraska.
He said he didn't know what December or January was going to hold for him. So all he's focusing on right now is getting ready for Wisconsin and getting ready for Iowa. Like that is, as much of a whirlwind as it's been for him. Like that's, I think, kind of his approach right now, where after this season, he'll address it then. For now, he's just trying to maximize every day.
And this is not about the money, because Dana Holgorsen will make $4.5 million this year. He'll make $4.5 million in 2025. He'll make 60% of that in the next 2 years after. So no matter what, as an offensive coordinator, Dana Holgorsen is going to be paid out whole. Now, being a head coach is a whole different discussion if he were to go back up to that level. But I think for Dana, this is not about the money. It's about the fit and about the opportunity for him to make the next move after this move.
Right. So what's that going to look? I mean, I guess I'm hoping he becomes the offensive coordinator here, but how far down the road should that go in your mind? In my mind, I want that to happen at Nebraska. I think it would be great if Dana Holgorsen becomes Nebraska's offensive coordinator. Are you guys just assuming that's going to happen? I assume
it's going to happen. And unless there's some things behind the scenes that change things that we don't know about. But
how about another offer?
Yeah.
But again, it's not about the money, because you're not going to get $4.5 million to be an OC somewhere.
Okay.
And you got to wonder what his feelings about this position and working for Matt Rule and the personnel that he has and the resource he has available. How does that stack up to other potential offers to go somewhere else? And what if he gets a head coaching job offer? Like, could that be the X factor in all this?
It could be.
I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns. That's why I think he and Matt Rule are sticking with this. All we're worried about is this season, because there's so many variables that you just do not know right now and probably won't know until after the regular season.
Sean, I'm not assuming it, that he'll be the OC here. I can't do it.
The thing about the job, though, that they can sell is Raiola. And I think the opportunity to groom and work with a quarterback with Raiola's toolbox, that's enticing.
Oh, yeah.
Because he probably never had a quarterback that young with these tools.
No.
Now, the problem is we've seen some of the tools not get as developed as of late, and that's what you hope he can do. Can he come in and retool Dylan Raiola with his vision, his confidence? Because obviously the last few weeks it's been tough for him.
About 5 weeks.
Just the confidence of getting the man-to-man throws off that seemingly guys aren't really open.
Well, there you go. See, you got to listen to yourself in these conversations. Is Dylan regressing, or is it, if he doesn't have anybody to throw to, what do? You guys know the issues because Matt Rule lays them out for us every week. What did USC do? They blitzed 22 times on 43 dropbacks. Pressure. What do? You pressure Nebraska and you man-to-man them. Because what did Matt Rule say on Monday? We don't get off press coverage very well, and we don't win downfield man-to-man. Sean, is that the quarterback's fault? Do you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Is that no, it's not the quarterback's fault.
Sorry, I'm letting you go here.
Yeah. When they don't win at the line of scrimmage, the receivers, and then they don't beat people man-to-man coverage, that's not Dylan's fault.
Going back to the Dana Dylan dynamic, Triple D there. I thought it was interesting hearing them talk about one another on Tuesday, where
what Dylan say?
Well, I'll start with Dana. He said that working with him, obviously he's so advanced for a true freshman, and the fact that he can understand the game and the concepts that he wants to teach very quickly. And then the other notable part of that is he said basically the entire game, he wasn't worried about signaling plays or anything like that. He was on the mic communicating with Dylan in the helmet, and on the sideline communicating with Dylan one-on-one. So, I mean, that relationship, I think it's just getting started right now.
I hope
and
so.
As that continues to evolve, I think the offense evolves along with it. And then Dylan talking about Dana as well, said he's really straight to the point. He said he brought a sense of urgency to fix the problems they're having, and he knows exactly what he's looking for. I think if you're clear and consistent, a young quarterback like that's going to thrive.
All right, when we come back, we'll delve more into offensive storylines and headlines heading into Nebraska, Wisconsin. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washit. Again, we're brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Give them a call at 402-205-2233 to learn more about all the services they can offer for you. They're there for you to help the loved ones in your life get by with simple tasks, daily needs. It's never too early. You might have someone in your life that you want to find out more ways you can help them. Call StayHome.Care. We're also brought to you by our newest sponsor, Public Rec. And guys, we've all gotten some gear from Public Rec. And, what this is, high level premium athletic wear, casual wear. You can wear it to work, golf pants, tons of great styles, polo shirts, pants, shorts, quarter zips, lots of top high end items that, are just comfortable to wear. And we all got it. We're like, wow, this is high quality stuff from Public Rec. And we've got a great promo code here. We're going to give you 20% off your order at Public Rec when you try it out. You use the promo code Husker. That's 20% off Public Rec. They've got khakis, golf pants, you name it. I got a long sleeve t-shirt. Robin got some great pants from Public Rec. I know Sip's got a polo shirt on the way. So check them out. Tons of different color options as well. That's promo code Husker at Public Rec. All right. Hey, thanks, guys. Let's get into this now with the wide receivers. Because I thought it was interesting. Dana Holgorsen, you can sense he wants more from that group. And for this offense to get to where it needs to go, that has to happen. Otherwise, this could be a completely different group of wide receivers a year from now.
Yeah. I mean, he talked about, as we kind of talked about, he discussed the perimeter blocking in very clear terms.
Want me to read the full quote?
Yeah.
She says, "These are big bodies. Why are you not blocking worth of crap on the perimeter? It's embarrassing."
Okay. See, that's not.
It's about as blunt as it gets right there.
Yeah. And it's that has to be a little uncomfortable for the current receivers coach to hear that. I mean, we're 10 games in, right? We're 10 games in. And we're talking about embarrassing blocking. And it's not, guys, come on. I mean, we're not uncovering anything here. We've watched it. This has been an ongoing dialogue all year. So that's uncomfortable a little bit for the sitting receivers coach. I would say the sitting running backs coach is kind of the same thing. Now, Donovan Raiola happens to, be in a good position in that his group played its best game against USC. And that, you know what, guys?
Dana said that as well, not just Rule.
Right. That's Dana Holgorsen's first impression. That's good. And they did play well. They protected well, and they generally have protected well.
Yeah, the one sack was on a play where the cadence was wrong.
Yeah, the center screwed it up.
And so you can't pin that on Gunnar Gatula.
No.
All the way. I mean,
the guy went around Gunnar, and we were all like, geez, Gunnar. What?
But nobody else moved either.
Right, nobody else moved, right. So it wasn't Gunnar.
No, and they only gave up 4 hurries on like 43 dropbacks.
Pretty good pass protection.
No sacks.
Pretty much all year, right?
Like they don't even really, that was a sack, but they didn't charge it as a sack to the O-line because of the cadence issue. But yeah, I thought Mazuka came in and played well too in that situation.
Yeah. So now here's the deal. Now I'm just all the things that Holgorsen said that are coming back to me. The fresh set of eyes discussion is really important. And Rule mentioned that to us on Monday, that getting a fresh set of eyes on a position group is really important. Holgorsen said the same thing. He said what you guys have seen over the years, and we've talked about sort of privately, like you kind of know when a position coach kind of falls in love with a certain guy or guys. And that can be detrimental to somebody who's pretty good, that just doesn't get you won't get the reps. And you know what? There may not be any good reason for it. And we've seen instances where guys that should be playing weren't playing. And that's what a fresh set of eyes could do.
And you just wonder what new wrinkles we'll see too now that they've got a game under their belt, Robin, where, what did he like? I mean, I thought there were some things in the run game that you're like, okay, he's found a couple, holes that they can go to.
If they get in them.
And but like the way some of the run, I mean, they had 4 runs of 10 plus yards on 18 running back carries. 7 of the 18 runs converted first downs. I mean, that's pretty good efficiency.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I mean, if they could have got 28 carries, what would it look like?
Yeah, and I guess what Dana said is the same thing Matt Rule's been saying is like, yeah, they had some good runs, but they need great runs. They need guys to make plays. And so you look at the snap counts and the workload of the USC game. It's like, oh, is Emmett Johnson now their new number one bell cow guy? Like, is this going to be the move going forward? We'll see what Dana has to say about that. We didn't ask him about that, but Rule on Monday said that it's still very much an open competition, that Dante Dowdell was kind of dealing with an injury from getting stepped on. That Ramir Johnson, had he been healthy, would have had an extensive workload in that game. So I don't, despite what the numbers and the stats may have shown, I don't know if there's much more clarity in that running back room. And so you got to wonder, like, what they did well Saturday, how much does that apply when Ramir Johnson is healthy, when Dante Dowdell is fully healthy? So I guess that's very much a work in progress still. One thing Dana said about the receivers too, along with their blocking, as Matt Rule has said, they got to get beat man coverage. And he says, we need to do a better job of that for us to be successful. So what can they do? What can he scheme to make that happen now with another week of practice?
We've learned a lot. We have. This year we've learned a lot. One thing we've learned that's really important is when an assistant coach, receivers coach goes out and recruits, you look for guys who can beat man, because we're seeing what happens when you can. Beating man is not easy. It's a lot easier for a receiver to go find holes in a zone and sit down and catch a ball.
It makes you really respect. I mean, Mickey Joseph and Keith Williams, two formers, I mean, they did a really good job of
100.
I mean, look at the size of Jordan Westerkamp. We were never talking about him not beating man.
No, he beat man. He beat man. Yeah, he could beat man.
Look at the development he did with Brandon Riley. Made him a walk-on into an NFL player.
But you know what? It wasn't like there was never issues when they were. Remember the conversation about Rick Kaczynski, that those receivers would go to Kaczynski for work on hands and how to win hand battles at off press coverage. They would go to the defensive line coach and say, what do you guys do to win those battles with your hands? I mean, you just got to figure stuff out at the line of scrimmage. You got to, first of all, get off the line of scrimmage and then beat guys down the field. It's not easy.
Well, in that era too, you had Levante Adams and Tyreek Hill coming to Lincoln, and Nebraska's receivers were training with those guys.
Devontae.
They weren't training to go sit in a zone.
No.
They were trained to beat man coverage.
Right. I mean, yeah, I remember they would be down on where the facility's at now, the soccer field, and they were running routes out there.
Who else came? There was a pretty long line of guys. Tyreek Hill would just be in Lincoln. You stop. I mean,
two of the best receivers in football just working out
with Williams. We'd write about it. You guys wrote about it. We wrote about it, the Journal-Star, but that's what that is.
Keith Williams, he was like, hey, you guys can come watch if you want. Yeah. And it was a different time, but you realize that the development was real back then. I mean, guys were getting developed.
It has to be. That's what I mean. That's what we're learning this year. We're learning. If you can't beat man, you're in trouble.
And so with that, going back to the Holgorsen conversation and what his new perspective brings, I think that it gives everybody a clean slate, that the guys that aren't doing it and haven't done it for 10 games, we're going to find somebody else who can. And this quote from Dana today said, if there's competition, then people play better. If there's not competition, then people relax. I think our job as coaches, especially in this situation right now, I'll say, look, this is what I see. If you don't like it, then do something about it in practice. Let's go.
I like when Robin reads quotes with just.
That's beautiful, though.
Let's go.
But where was it? Here's the question. Why is that a new mentality? Where was that mentality?
Because like you just said, sometimes coaches fall in love with guys and then they get the blinders on.
Yeah, they do.
And so now you got a guy that doesn't have blinders on and he sees everything.
Let's not kid ourselves. The 5-1 start was a little bit of fool's gold. Yeah. I mean, there were issues, but they're 5-1. So you kind of tend to look past some of the issues.
Yep.
But the competition just got better and better and better.
But also, Sean, the conversation evolved on what defenses figured out Nebraska. We've talked about it before. Illinois, all of a sudden, so you can pressure them up the middle and man them. Okay, that worked. That Illinois, it worked a little bit, right? Teams saw it. Now that's what happens. It's pressure and man.
Well, in the Purdue game, they drew all those PI flags. They haven't had that happen again.
No, you're right.
Which,
because they faced
watch
better.
The USC game, they probably should have got a few more than they did, but
I hate to be so hard on those guys who can't beat man coverage, but That's what's dragging the
But
offense.
this is
back.
what your offense becomes when that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You can't run routes.
Sean's talked about it. You play your safeties high, and then the deep ball becomes really difficult to throw.
And you stack the box to shut down the run.
You gobble up the underneath.
But you can play your safeties high because the run threat's not great.
And if it is great, it's 10 yards. That's it.
Right.
Like
because they don't break nothing.
There's no 40-yard runs.
Right.
Like they get to that safety and get tackled. I mean,
and I catch myself all the time, and I think you guys do it maybe more subconsciously. Like if they get an 8-yard run, I'm like, oh, see, they can run it. No, that's 8-yard run's not enough. When we covered Nebraska football, when they were really rolling, like when they get 150 yards now, we're like, see, that's pretty good. Sip, they got 150, great. That's just wonderful.
Games with like your number 2 running back would have 150.
Right. I mean, we've been sort of conditioned now to point to things that are very average and say, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, you know what happens? You finish 500. That's what happens. If you get 150 and the media is singing your praises, probably means you're a 500 team.
All right. On that note, when we come back, we're going to talk defense, senior day. A lot of big senior names playing their final game. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett, brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you, the loved ones in your life, to help with the simple tasks someone in your life might need help with. It could be grocery shopping, a ride to a doctor's appointment, medications, you name it. They're there for you. It's never too early to call them if you have questions about their services. You might have a loved one in your life that might need their services. Call them at 402-205-2233. And we're also brought to you by Mando. And Mando has been a part of the traveling Husker team this year. They've made the trip. What was our last road? Not at UCLA. What was the one before UCLA? Was that Ohio State?
Yeah.
And they made the trip to LA, their products with Stephen M. Sipple.
Yeah.
And
the spray.
I mean, it's a staple in the day-to-day life of Steve Sipple.
Yeah, it's 100% a staple. Mostly the soap and that. See that spray bottle right there? That's the spray. That's the key. I mean, that
whole body deodorant.
I sprayed on my sheets. I mean, I'll just
too much information.
How about air freshener? That's not too much information.
Whole body.
Spray it anywhere you want.
I mean, it's kind of like air freshener. Just spray it out the door. You know, house smells good going out. I mean, it's good stuff.
Smell better naked. 72-hour. That's what it says on that's the website.
Yeah, okay, Sean.
Just reading the script.
Yeah.
But we've got a great promo and special. If you've not tried Mando and you want to find out what Steve Sipple's been raving about, get the Mando starter pack. We're going to set that up for you. It's already discounted down with the deal on it. We're going to take another $5 off along with free shipping. It equates to 40% off the retail price. You have to go to shopmando.com, and that's the promo code Husker at shopmando.com. Again, the promo code is Husker at shopmando.com to get up to 40% off the Mando starter pack, which is going to include the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, plus 2 free products of your choice. Thanks again to Mando for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show.
You got adolescents, you know how adolescents can smell sometimes. Mando would be a great Christmas gift.
Mando would be a good thing to like put in your stocking.
Especially an adolescent, someone going through puberty.
Get some Mando, put it in your stocking.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the defensive talk.
Good idea.
Senior day.
For
Nebraska. And
a concept.
We kind of chuckle because some of these seniors have been here for a long time. And for Nebraska, the key seniors on, I'm going to say some offensive guys. Ramir Johnson, 6-year senior. Jamal Banks is a senior. Garcia Castaneda is a senior. Naor, Ben Hart. Corcoran's a senior, but he'll come back. Mazuka's a senior. Ben Scott's a 6-year senior. Hutmacher's a 5th year. Ty Robinson's a 6-year. MJ Sermon's a 5th year. John Bullock a 6-year. Javin Wright a 6-year. Isaac Gifford a 5th year. Tommy Hill a 5th year. And Deshaun Singleton, also a 5th-year senior, along with Brian Buschini.
Did you notice something about that? Those are all key players. I mean, you're going to lose most of them. There's 2 guys that said that Robin reported yesterday that Rule said are coming back. Marquise Buford could leave. Jamari Butler could leave, but they said they want to come back.
Told him Monday.
So, yeah, those are critical guys. There's 5 guys There's 5. I think you named them. You didn't identify them as such, but there's 5 guys who have been in the program all 6 years.
With this, yeah.
As Huskers.
Yeah, I can almost name them off the top of my head. Javin Wright, Ben Hart, Bullock, Gifford. Yeah, we didn't do it. But anyway, there's 5 of them that have been here 6 years. Unbelievable. Stuck through it.
Yeah, Gabe
Ty,
Irvin,
I think is
Gabe
one of
Irvin
those.
Jr.
Ty's one of those guys.
Ty.
Yeah.
You know, and guys you got to watch. Heinrich Harburg, Gabe Irvin Jr. They're 4th-year juniors.
Okay.
Alex Bullock is a guy that, you know, could potentially make a decision about his future.
Yep.
He's going to walk at senior day. Fedoni only has 1 year of eligibility remaining. You go down the line, and then you just wonder about the roster stuff. We haven't even talked about this, and this will be something we'll probably hit more on in headlines. But how many of these senior or players in the program are going to be forced out of the game because of the 105 roster rules?
Yeah, anymore. Like the last few years, senior day just hasn't felt like much, except for the guys like for sure their eligibility's gone. But ever since I watched Derek Walker go through 3 senior day ceremonies with Nebraska basketball, like they lost a lot of the oomph for me. And so there's going to be guys, they're going to have about 30 players go through the ceremony on Saturday.
Yep.
We'll see how many of those guys come back and how many of them actually move on. But to Sean's point, that 105 roster cut, that's going to be a big factor in some decisions, because there are going to be some guys that may want to come back, but they might not have a spot.
Not allowed to, yeah.
So some interesting conversations are going to be had coming into the season.
And that's been a topic of discussion. Like Dabo Sweeney commented about it as well, because it's sad. I mean, a lot of guys that are good people, good character guys that you want in your program, you know, they're never going to play a lick for you. And Grant Boot is a great example. Has never played a down of significance. He got in the UTEP game this year. Nephew of Sandy Buda, by the way, former UNO head football coach. His grandfather played at Nebraska too. But you know, he's going to be a surgeon someday, and he's a great character guy in the locker room. Those types of stories will be gone.
They'll be gone somewhere else. They'll be gone to maybe lower divisions.
Ideally, or maybe a guy doesn't want to play at a lower division.
Maybe gone for good.
You know, some guys say, I want to go to a Big Ten institution for my academics, and I'll be a part of football, but I don't want to go to a Division II or a Division III or whatever the level
Now,
is.
here's the deal. Nebraska keeps a roster of 145 to 150. Now, they are very rare. I mean, these sorts of discussions don't affect that many programs.
125 is probably more the norm.
Yeah. Or even lower.
115.
Even lower. I guarantee you USC has maybe 2 walk-ons, you know, because
it's too expensive.
How do you pay $65,000 a year, you know, or a semester for whatever the hell it is? You can't. They don't have walk-ons. There's a lot of schools that carry 100 guys. 100. I mean, so this doesn't affect a ton of programs, but for programs like Nebraska, it affects it profoundly. Profound.
So we have one more year of the COVID senior day element where
one more year.
Is that right, Sean?
Yeah. God, I'm trying to, because I know 2021. I mean, like, there's not going to be very many guys next year with that COVID year. Like Corcoran will come back, and he'll be a 6-year player, but you've got to look at it. How many of these guys were on the team at Nebraska in 2020? That is
was Jamari Butler.
Jamari Butler is
he was, by the way,
fifth year. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be back for a 6th year. Butler would be an example, right? Because I remember we were interviewing him when he was a kid during that COVID summer.
What's weird about these two is you have seniors that have been here for 6 years. Yeah. You also have seniors that have been here like 6 months. With the portal era, like you have guys that have been established figures of your program for the better part of a decade. And then you have other guys that were basically just here for less than a full calendar year. Yeah. So it's the senior day dynamic has never been stranger in my eyes than it is right now.
So members of the 2020 class that are still here, which would be eligible, are Turner Corcoran, Jamari Butler.
Okay.
Nash Hutmacher is a part of the 2020. He'll be done this year. But you go down the line, there's not a lot of players with eligibility remaining. Isaac Gifford was in the 2020 class, but he's played. He never redshirted at Nebraska. But you go down the list of players like Daniel Cherney, Tamon Lineman's at Pittsburgh, Jordan Riley ended up going somewhere else. Alex Kahn never played. Delancey never played. I mean, the 2020 class, not a lot of survivors of that group of players. Blaze Gunnerson was in that class, walked away. Logan Smothers is at Jacksonville State. Savion Morrison's at Kansas. Henry Gray, I don't know where he went. Jaden Francois, don't know where he went. Marcus Fleming, don't know where he ended up after Maryland. Omar Manning. The 2020 class was kind of, you talk about the struggles of the program, that era of players.
A lot of misses.
Now, the 2019, there's still a lot of players playing from that class. And that would be the 6-year players right now.
Okay.
Like Wandell Robinson was a part of the same recruiting class as Ty Robinson.
Wow.
He's like in his 3rd NFL year.
Who else in that 2019
So
class?
Ben Hart, Ty Robinson, Jakeem Green was in the 2019 recruiting class.
Defensive lineman.
Luke McCaffrey in the NFL was in the 2019 class. You go down the line. The 2019 class had a few guys for sure. Ramir Johnson was in that group of players.
Wow.
Quentin Newsome, Miles Farmer, Garrett Nelson. Garrett Nelson theoretically could have been a 6-year senior this year if he didn't,
Theoretically,
if he would have taken a red shirt. Brant Banks was in that class. Javin Wright. So yeah, the 2019, there's still a lot of guys around. Like Desmond Bland, I saw just recently he was in that class, never made it here. He got an opportunity to the New Orleans Saints this year.
No kidding. Where did he end up?
He was playing indoor football in Salina.
So for the guys that are back and came back, stuck it out, survived over the course of these last 5-6 years, like after the post-game show, we talked about just this is their moment here. This is your last home game in many cases. You got an opportunity still to accomplish your number one goal going into this thing, and that's go to the first bowl game of your college career at Nebraska.
Yep.
But you look at the lineman bust in 2019 really kind of puts it into perspective.
2019, okay.
So here's the linemen that never played at Nebraska: Desmond Bland, Jimmy Fritchie, Matthew Anderson, Michael Lynn, Brant Banks. He played a little bit, not much.
Nope.
But there were just
That's a bust.
You go down that group of linemen.
Wow.
That really tells the story of the team.
Ooh, that's a hit.
The only guys that contributed in that class were Ben Hart and Ethan Piper.
That's a hit.
So the 2019 group just never gave them.
That's a hit.
But then they had multiple draft picks, Wandell Robinson and McCaffrey, but both transferred.
But the bigs are critical. Like the bigs is what it's about, largely in the Big Ten. And when, you have that many misses in your bigs, that's trouble. That's trouble.
Yeah, and their receivers weren't very good either. DeMarion Houston, Darian Chase, Chris Hickman ended up moving to tight end. That's an interesting. When you look back at it now, that's why we're at where we're at. That's
a large reason.
That's 5-7 to football.
It's a large reason. That's right.
All right. When we come back, we'll open up the mailbag. Abby Barmer will join us next. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, Abby Barmore here joining us for the mailbag. Again, we're brought to you by StayHome.Care, the title sponsor of the Husker Online Show. They're there for you and the loved ones in your life to help with all the simple daily tasks you might need for that loved one in your life. Give them a call. Check them out at their website at StayHome.Care or call them at 402-205-2233. We're also brought to you by Bauer Underground. They serve as support for local contractors and utility companies within the state of Nebraska. Bauer Underground gives 100% to assure quality control for their customers and has excellent management skills to supervise each and every job they contract for. The company and its employees are accustomed to deadline pressure on construction jobs, and they take tremendous pride in meeting the deadline requirements while maintaining excellent workmanship on each job. Strategy is at the heart of what they do. For more than 25 years, their reputation has been built on these basic principles: quality workmanship, on-time job completion, hiring and retaining high-quality personnel, utilizing the latest earth-moving techniques, and maintaining safety for their customers and employees. Find out more about Bauer. Check them out at BauerUnderground.com. They have offices in Lincoln, Omaha, Kearney, and Norfolk. Thanks again to Bauer Underground for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Abby, where are we going?
Okay, first one. What are Nebraska's keys to victory against Wisconsin?
Stopping the run. I think Wisconsin is going to run it. That's what they do. They were 1 of 12 or 1 of 13 on third downs last week against Oregon.
Yeah, I haven't done a big scout on Wisconsin. I mean, they just fired. It's kind of hard to answer, Abby, because they just fired their offensive coordinator, Phil Longo. They won't change up. They can't change things up that much, but it affects it. They were running what they called the dairy raid, but it wasn't like they were passing it all that much. Phil Longo was an air raid guy, but he runs it. I don't know. I haven't scouted them that much. I don't know exactly what they're getting. Braden Locke is very average quarterback.
Will Pauling might be hurt.
Oh, that would hurt them.
That's why I think they're going to run the ball. Because one, why did they just fire Phil Longo? Because nobody liked the air raid and they wanted to get back to power football. What's one way to win the fans back and win guys like Barry Alvarez back? Get back to some power football and play to your strengths, which is their running back. Their wide receivers are dinged up. Their quarterback play has been atrocious. Run the ball. That's what I'm expecting if I'm Tony White.
Yeah, I think so too. They're down. I mean, they lost their Maluzzi. They're down to number 3 at running back too.
Tywee, what's his name?
Walker.
He's good.
Yeah, he's got 800 yards rushing.
He's pretty good. But he started as the number 2 or number 3.
The offensive line though is the strength. They have a good O-line.
And they're good. Their defense, it hasn't been a great year defensively for them, but if you eyeball them, they got it. They have the look of they're long, athletic, big.
Bottled up Oregon.
Exactly.
Well, in the punting game and the field position will be big for both teams. Yeah. 2 offenses that don't score much. Mm-hmm. How do you score? Shorter fields.
Yep. Oh yeah. That's all right. Exactly right.
Okay.
Next question.
Next one. Did you see a difference in Dylan Raiola in the offense with Dana Holgorsen calling the plays?
Got it. I mean, the big thrust was they wanted to get the ball out quicker, out of his hand, out of Dylan's hand. I think that happened. Other differences, they went to Bonner more. I mean, Bonner caught 3 balls. He had caught 3 balls against UTEP, but since then, not much action. They obviously identified Bonner as a player that could help them. The tight end snaps got changed up a little bit. You saw Borkacher play 28 snaps. Lindenmeyer played 14 or 15. That was different, right?
Yeah, and I would like to see they kind of just dip their toe in a little bit with this new transition where everything was just safe. It was quick. They got the ball out. They took some pressure off the offensive line. They didn't leave Dylan sitting back in the pocket like with a target on his back, and they got the ball out, but they also only completed 2 passes that went over 10 yards. And they have to have a downfield element. And again, that goes back to receivers not being able to get off routes. But if you don't put any pressure on defenses down the field, everything becomes hard. And so while Dylan was, I thought the just overall flow and the operation of it looked better. I mean, it was a non-threatening offense where everything was dink and dunk.
What did Sean, you wrote it in your Pro Football Focus grades. I think Dylan was 25 for 27 on throws under 10.
Yeah, and he only
27 throws under 10.
And he only completed 2 passes that traveled more than 10.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Got to open it up.
Not the final, the ball in the air. The
Okay.
length of the pass, not the total distance of the play.
Got it.
They only had 1 passing play by a receiver over 20. Now, Emmett Johnson had the longest one. And
29.
And when teams play that man-to-man, you flare out the running back.
Yep.
Okay, next one. What are your thoughts on Jamari Butler and Marquise Buford coming back? And then also, is there another senior or 2 that are likely to return?
Well, those guys aren't seniors. They're juniors.
Yeah.
So it's more these guys that have to make that decision on the year and how they want to play.
Use that extra year of
Harburg intrigues me. Gabe Urban intrigues me.
Yeah.
What their thought process
good
is.
Ones. Yeah.
Because 2 guys that are kind of not in the picture right now, but with a tightened up 105-man roster, what kind of value do they have in the market right now?
Right. Oh, I mean, Butler's interesting. These is why these discussions are sort of awkward and confusing. Butler's a 5th-year guy, but he's not a senior. He's a junior technically, but he's a 5th-year guy. So, anytime you get a big back, Abby, here's the thing that's very important. Big bodies are really important, especially in this league. So you got one back who's played as extensively as Butler is huge. Buford is critical to this program because he's a physical corner and a great locker room guy. Mm-hmm. You know what? I like watching Buford play football because he's very physical. Corners aren't always physical. We had a couple corners on this team right now aren't very physical. Mm-hmm. Buford physical guy. Watch him tackle. I mean, tackles with force. I love him, and he's a great locker room guy.
What about Turner Corcoran and Teddy Prohaska?
Good names, huge, important.
I mean,
names.
talk about an offensive
I think
line
they're
that
both
loses a
coming
lot.
back.
Yeah,
I
seems
mean,
like it. Yeah,
where are they going to go? I mean, what is their value?
But
to
if you're
leave
Teddy and you've had 3 season-ending injuries, like
you'd retire.
does he want to continue to
Yeah,
play?
he does. I mean, I've heard enough to know that both those guys are
of
trending
them
to
do?
return. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think we had it in Tunnel Talk.
You did.
Okay.
About 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, and Teddy's around the team a lot. You can see he's engaged. Turner Corcoran too.
And look, they're both going to make significant amount of money to return. Like, if I'm just going to make up a number, but if they said, "Hey, you'll resign for $200,000," where are you going to get $200,000 as a first-year college graduate? You're not going to get it.
Hard to get.
I mean,
That NIL money gets guys back like that. It gets them back.
you make more than a first-year doctor
Right.
to come back and play football.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but the NIL, it's not only a discussion about young players coming in, it's retaining older
Recruiting
players
your
too.
roster.
Yeah. You're right, Sean. Those guys are minimum $100,000 guys, I would think.
100 to 200 and that. I mean,
Right.
6-figure value players. I mean, you need linemen.
Yeah.
All right. Final question.
Okay, so you guys just got back from LA, but you traveled to 4 places this year. What was your favorite road trip?
It's easy for me.
Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't Columbus.
It's a weird place.
Yeah.
We got we stayed downtown.
We don't need to get
and we don't need to get into the gas station.
It's got a little rough.
Got a little
Got
rough
a
at
little
a
rough.
neighborhood gas station.
Yeah, LA by far for me because of the scene at the game. You guys probably got tired of me telling you how beautiful it was. I mean, I probably said it 15 times during the game. Look at how gorgeous its setting is.
Well, you look and there's the hills with a Hollywood
San
sign
Gabriel
to your left, and then you
Mountains.
go, oh, there's the skyscrapers of downtown LA, and you go a little further, oh, there's snow-capped mountains. It's
And
like
then
holy
All the
moly.
way to the left was the downtown Beverly Hills.
Yep.
So it was Beverly Hills, Hollywood, downtown LA, and the mountains. I mean,
Amazing.
that was your view in the open air press box.
Not bad.
Open air press box on a gorgeous,
60 degrees.
60-degree day, sun splashed. LA is not anywhere I'd want to live. It's a mess, but it's fun to visit.
Yeah. Spend a couple days.
It is really fun.
What
to
did that
visit.
cab driver tell us about his son, like the home prices?
Oh, like a middle class home in Nebraska would be
300,000-400,000
$14,000 a month.
for LA middle class
Mortgage.
Mhm.
Yeah. LA middle class home, $14,000 a month. So yeah, but man, USC, that setting for a game is it's not as good as it gets because the Rose Bowl, for instance, across town's better. But the Coliseum's
It was way better than I expected.
yeah,
And I would say Mastro's was our best meal of the season.
maybe the best of my life. I'm
Hard to
58.
argue.
I'm 58. I think it might have been the best meal I've ever had.
We didn't realize that the penthouse level, we could have had dinner up at the penthouse level.
That's where all the
too.
celebrities
That's
go
where the
to.
rock goes.
Yeah.
And we could have sat up at the penthouse level.
Mariah goes up there. So what makes it good? It's this main area where we sat, which is really nice, elegant, dark, properly
Yeah,
dark.
we needed flashlights to read the menu.
Yeah.
With our old
Properly
eyes.
dark, elegant. But then upstairs, there's this whole nother element where they have live music, and it was beautiful live music, not overdone.
We had live music on our level.
Did we?
All 3 levels,
I didn't even notice that. It
7 days a week.
was so dark, I didn't notice.
Yeah,
So dark you couldn't hear.
the ambiance of that place was top 5 I've ever been to.
And you guys mentioned the waiter, high level,
Oh yeah,
Penn
Pro.
State, he was a Penn State guy.
Pro.
pro 100.
Yeah,
That guy's got to be, he's valuable to that place. Really valuable.
yeah, and the 2 trips we stayed in, so Purdue and Bloomington, kind of the same trip because we stayed in Indianapolis both times.
Which is great.
Yeah, so it was just fine.
Indy's great.
So LA.
LA, not even close.
Now we haven't had Iowa City yet, fellas. So just kidding.
That's always it.
Last time I was there, I got snowed in for 4 days.
That's great. God,
We won't even really get to enjoy Iowa City.
because it's
Well, it's a
late
night game.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving Day, what are you going to do when you get into town?
Everything's closed.
Everything's
Steak and Shake's open because one year on COVID year, I got in and I had to eat something. And Steak and
Maybe
Shake
that's what we're doing.
Steak and Shake was the only place open.
We found a bar last time, and the band came in. Remember?
We went to Brothers.
Was that Brothers?
Yeah, well, my cousin was in the Iowa band, and we saw her. And then we went after the band was playing. We went to Brothers.
We'll figure it out, Sid.
All right. When we come back, we'll close the show with some thoughts around the Big Ten. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Final segment of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Robin Washett, Steve Sipple. Again, brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you and the loved ones in your life to help with all the tasks you might need. It could be an aunt, an uncle, a brother, a sister, a parent. They are there to assist you in simple daily tasks. Give them a call at 402-205-2233. Check them out at their website at StayHome.Care. Also brought to you by Vintage Custom Homes. And Stephen M. Sipple is wearing that hat. So he uses the Mando deodorant. Robin's wearing it. They both have their Vintage Custom Homes.
Looks good
hat.
on you, Robin.
Thanks.
And look, this is a great time with the economy changing right now. Interest rates are going down. Home building is going to skyrocket. You want to get your ducks in a row. Give Vintage Custom Homes a call. Check them out at their websites at vintagecustomhomes.com. They are high-end custom builders based in the Omaha area, but they build everywhere from Council Bluffs to North Platte to Arnold, Nebraska, you name it. And they don't just do home builds. They do full remodels, pool houses, barn dominiums. They will do anything you need, not just full home builds. So they understand, like, hey, not everyone necessarily wants to build a new home, but you might want to redo your kitchen. You might want to build an outbuilding and turn it into a barn dominium for Stephen Sipple to come over and hang out and
live in.
Yes. They do all that kind of stuff. So check them out at vintagecustomhomesne.com. That's Vintage Custom Homes.
Beautiful.
Ne.com. Thanks again to Vintage Custom Homes for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Let's get into the Big Ten games. You had a lot of predictability in the league really last week. Ohio State hammered Northwestern 31-7 in Wrigley Field. Illinois hammered Michigan State, and they have now kind of moved ahead of the rugby scrum. They're at 7-3, eyeballing maybe a bowl trip to Florida at this point, to Tampa or Tampa or Orlando. Penn State 49-10 winners over 1-9 Purdue. What's going to happen there will be interesting. USC obviously takes out Nebraska 28-20. Rutgers fighting their way up the scrum. They're 6-4 with an impressive win at Maryland.
Yep.
And Iowa, by the way, plays Maryland this week at Maryland. So that's something to watch. Oregon squeaks by Wisconsin 16-13. And then the Friday night game was a 31-19 win for Washington over UCLA. It was closer, though, than maybe the score indicated.
Washington has won 20 straight at home. The Wisconsin-Oregon game probably was the highlight. Obviously, it got Longo fired because Wisconsin netted 0 yards on its last 4 drives.
They got one third down conversion the whole game.
Right. Phil Longo ousted. And then Fickle was very curt during his press conference on Monday when he was asked about who's going to call plays. And he said what sort of maybe will become a famous line. Why does it matter?
Google me. Why does it matter?
I didn't kick out of that response.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it matter?
Just gives you guys somebody to blame.
To point the finger at.
I don't know. You saw the game. What did you think?
It was, he was very Bo Pelini-esque. He strikes me as kind of a Bo Pelini type without a sense of humor. Bo had a good sense of humor. I don't know that. Maybe Fickle doesn't come
My
through.
favorite was some guy asked him about like the defensive line rotation and how they tightened up the rotation. And he goes, well, how do you know we tightened up the rotation? He goes, well, I looked at the snap counts, and the snap counts said that. He said, well, what were the snap? Then he questioned the guy on the snap counts, and the guy clearly goes to Pro Football Focus, had the numbers, and spouts out the numbers. He's like, wow, you're right. You did your homework. It's like, come on, man.
Have some awareness, Luke.
Like,
what's that?
Have some awareness.
Like, come on. Like, that data is out there. Like, give the reporter credit. He did a little research, asked you a good question, and you're surprised he knew that?
Tried to belittle him, then kind of came off bad.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, he's under pressure. I'm not saying he's on a hot seat, but they're 5-5.
You don't make a move like that if you're not feeling pressure.
Right.
All right. This week,
Right.
Purdue at Michigan State on Friday night. Nobody will be watching that game.
No, they won't. I can't. I wish I could argue with you, but I can't. Virtually nobody.
I'll be out to dinner probably Friday night, and I'll maybe look at a TV when it's on.
Me and Rob will be working.
Yep.
Hoops game?
Yeah.
Omaha.
Oh, yeah. You guys got Creighton, Nebraska.
Yep.
Illinois, Rutgers. Rutgers will be going. That's kind of a big rugby scrum game.
This is a big rugby.
I mean, those are two teams fighting for like a Florida bowl game.
How about Illinois fighting for win number 8? Now you're not going to like this, Nebraska fan, but Illinois squeezing all it can out of its talent. That's Illinois squeezing all it can.
And they close with Northwestern, so they could go 9-3.
Let's be honest here. Nebraska, if it was squeezing all it could out of its talent, would be a 7-win team probably.
Yep, it's a extremely fine line between failure and success in this conference, and the fact that you go back to that Illinois game, they're sitting at 7-3. Nebraska's struggling to get to 6. Says everything you need.
Who got more out of their team?
The difference at Illinois is every move is not magnified and analyzed. Or here, at a place like Nebraska, there's a lot more, eyeballs in everything you do. And
Sean, can't you turn that around though and say that could work in your favor?
Yeah, but you feel pressure with your roster moves, with your coaching moves, with your calls. And I don't know if he feels that there. Like
I don't think he does, but I'm not sure that's an advantage or a disadvantage. I think it could be either way, depending on how you react to it.
There's just a lot. I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of money and a lot of pressure, no matter what.
Right.
Indiana, Ohio State, the big one of the week. Ohio State's 13-point favorite. That's a lot of points.
It is a ton. I'm stunned by it.
Well, and Signetti's got a lot of ammunition there. He can say we're 10-0.
And they're a 13-point favorite. I mean,
and Nebraska almost won here, guys. Nebraska came in here and almost won.
Yeah, it's a day game. Ohio State playing at 6 straight big noon kickoff. I think that's an odd line.
It's the first major competition Indiana has faced this season, though. So this is are they for real game in every sense for Signetti's group. Did they just benefit from a extremely favorable schedule and look really good in the process? Or are they the real deal? We're going to find out.
Yeah.
Iowa, Maryland, again, at Maryland, the Hawkeyes are a 6.5-point favorite. That's a tricky game because Iowa's quarterback is Braden Sullivan's out for the year. McNamara might return.
He's not 100% either.
Or they'll have this third string guy come in. I mean, Iowa.
I wouldn't touch that game as a gambler. I wouldn't even consider touching it. How do you bet that game? Not that we're a gambling show, but I have no idea what's going to happen in that game.
You watch Iowa's quarterback with the running game. The play action will be there, and he'll do a bootleg handoff and just run untouched in the end zone.
Throw a touchdown to Lachey, who's just streaking down the field untouched. I've seen this story before.
The 2-hand tight end celebration when they tackle eligible touchdowns.
What a monster game at the Horseshoe, which we'll be able to watch the first part of it.
Yeah. Northwestern Michigan, Penn State, Minnesota in Minneapolis.
Big.
That's a 2:30 game, and then obviously Nebraska. Wisconsin, and we're on for post-game live. USC UCLA will be on TV.
That's a big one too.
Big crosstown. I mean, let's face it. That's a rivalry, and Deshaun Foster could be a big pain.
It's a big one for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Deshaun Foster can be a big pain.
He's already getting some momentum going in LA.
Yeah.
If they start becoming the cool team in LA, watch out.
Right.
Well, and USC has Notre Dame to close, and they could play a spoiler role to the Irish in the playoffs.
They could.
And if you're like a Tennessee, a Texas, a Georgia, you're rooting for USC.
Yeah.
Because the SEC wants another bid in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I think USC might match up pretty well with Notre Dame because Notre Dame's very defensive oriented. And USC's strength is this offense. So they might be able to get some stuff done against Notre Dame.
Boy, the SEC, they're really trying to jockey for bids. And wait till they go to – if they ever go to 9 conference games, they're talking about their league beating each other up now.
Well, you see what Lane Kiffin said? He said he's talked to coaches. He just said it openly that they don't want to play the title game.
Mm-hmm.
That he said publicly,
playoff chances.
I've talked to coaches who they don't want to play the SEC title game.
That will never not be allowed because they need the revenue.
Right. That's exactly right. I can't imagine the commissioner getting up in the morning and going to On3 and reading that. I'd be like, Lane, what are you doing?
That would be like $100 million hit or something to not play the title.
If I were the commissioner, I'd call him and say, Lane, knock that off. You don't need to be talking about that.
Or they would say, okay, if we don't play the title game, every team in the league will get $8 million less dollars.
Yeah.
You guys want the $8 million?
Mhm.
I see Lane's point though, because there's all these 2-loss teams, and somebody's getting knocked out in the title game.
Or there needs to be a gentleman's agreement that the loser of that game gets in the playoff.
Yeah, it's a hell of a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a nice fallback.
but you see his point. I mean, I'm not. He makes a great point. Lane does.
yeah, because think about Nebraska, Wisconsin in a 2012 Big Ten title game, and you're like, Nebraska's playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
They get hammered by Wisconsin, and if you were talking about a playoff, you'd be completely out of it.
And that's what can happen to those teams.
And
those
if
2-loss
Indiana
teams.
were to play Oregon on a neutral field indoors, they could get blown out and play out. They might be out.
Yeah, those title games are. Hey, I think we all agree we love the playoff, the expanded playoff, the 12-team playoff. But there's some drawbacks, and that's what Lane said. He goes, I almost said it exactly like I just said it. We all love it. It's great. It's created interest, but there's a drawback, and it's those conference title
Yeah.
games.
I don't even see the need for them anymore, to be honest with you.
Money.
Well, that's
Well,
Sure,
no.
but-
They need inventory on that weekend.
see, Rob, see,
But with
money
an
and
expanded
inventory.
playoff format, can't you make up for it with more games?
No, you
More
need to get.
sport
Well,
postseason?
then what do you play on that weekend? You need games on the first Saturday in December for the model to work.
Maybe you do you expand the playoff to 16?
Add another bye week?
Yeah, but you don't want to roll the playoffs in the week after Thanksgiving. You want that to be championship weekend, and then you're playing for a bye. I mean, there is something to play for. You're playing for a bye.
Yeah, or you're. Yeah.
How Boise State could be playing for a bye.
But in the SEC, someone could get knocked out of the whole thing by making the SEC title game. You're almost punished.
Well, like Texas has not beaten a ranked team, but we gotta wrap it up here, guys. We
Okay,
will have
Greg,
Husker Online post game live following Nebraska, Wisconsin. So make sure you join us. We'll be on about between 8 and 8:30. For Steve Sipple, Abby Barmore, Robin Washett, I'm Sean Callahan, wrapping it up here for another edition of the Husker Online Show.